This week in game news, the Xbox 360 was discontinued after over a decade. Mafia III released a release date of October 7, 2016. Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition has a PC release date of April 27. Tatsuya Minami, CEO of Platinum Games, has stepped down. Kenichi Sato will be taking his job. Overwatch will be available to play for free during its open beta from May 5th through the 9th. John Romero and Adrian Carmack will be working on a new FPS together. We're still waiting for details on that one. River City Tokyo Rumble has been announced for the 3DS. The Mirror's Edge Catalyst launch has been delayed to June 7th in North America and June 9th in Europe, and Guile is finally coming to Street Fighter V. This is the Blackman and Robin Game News Update. The music in today's episode was provided by Cement City. You can follow him on Twitter at cement_city, as well as on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/cementcity-1. We got a couple of interesting pieces of news about GameStop this week. First, it's been revealed that the video game retailer has launched a publishing division called GameTrust. GameTrust brings together multiple independent studios, namely Frozen Byte of Trine fame, Ready at Dawn, Tequila Works, and Insomniac Games. GameTrust is on track to publish 5 to 10 games per year. Their primary focus right now seems to be on funding and investing in games. For the most part, they'll be leaving the actual development and creative aspect of the games to the studios that they've signed. According to Mark Stanley, VP of Internal Development at GameStop, their focus will be on middleware games. Think high-budget indie games, games that are not quite big enough to be categorized as AAA, but are significantly larger and more expensive to produce than your average indie. We do know for certain that one of the games that GameTrust will be publishing is Song of the Deep by Insomniac Games. That game is on track to be released this summer. This move to publishing makes sense, since sales of physical games and hardware at GameStop are steadily declining. There's no telling how long the used game market can remain mainstream. As digital distribution continues to improve and gamers become more comfortable with leasing games digitally, we may eventually see a digital-only generation of consoles. No guarantee that it'll be the next generation, of course. I mean, look at what happened to the PSP Go, but it may well happen sooner than you think. GameStop is also planning on publishing some virtual reality games, though we can't quite be certain what sort these games will be. We do know, however, that GameStop will be stocking multiple sorts of VR headsets. This week, it came out that they'll be stocking the Merge VR headset, which is yet another virtual reality headset meant for use with smartphones. It's compatible with iOS and Android devices and is a few steps above cardboard. It's being marketed as affordable, durable, entry-level VR. GameStop already sells Samsung's Gear VR headset, and they're planning on selling the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and PlayStation VR once they're available. Frankly, I think that GameStop's expansion into VR is one of the smartest moves that they could have made. The thing with virtual reality is that you don't know what it's like, and you can't really describe it until you've experienced it. GameStop has plans to put VR demo stations in its stores. By stocking comparatively cheap virtual reality headsets, they put the devices into impulse buy territory, thus expanding the VR market as well as their own market share of VR games that they'll be publishing. Don't be surprised to see GameStop publishing games for mobile VR in the future. What do you think? Is GameStop making good business decisions by moving into VR and publishing? Hit us up on Twitter at Blackman and Robin and let us know. I remember it like it was just yesterday. The launch of the Xbox 360. It's hard to believe that it happened all the way back in November of 2005. Microsoft's second game console launched with 18 titles such as Peter Jackson's King Kong, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, Ridge Racer 6, and Cameo Elements of Power. Its launch made Microsoft a lot of money. Through the years, it paved the way for digital game distribution and helped define the ways that a console could change over time through software updates. Incidentally, it also had a tremendous hardware failure rate, but that's a discussion for another day. This week, Microsoft announced that the Xbox 360 would be discontinued. That said, Microsoft has announced that they'll continue to support Xbox Live for the Xbox 360 in the foreseeable future, and that if you need technical support for your Xbox, it'll still be available. In game releases this week, Speedrunners left early access on Steam. The game spent the last 3 years in development, and it's nice to see it finally finished. Of course, the developers are going to continue adding content and updates, but for now, it's as good as feature complete. There's now a story mode that draws inspiration from Mario Kart. It's meant to teach players the mechanics of the game. There are some other neat features as well. To sweeten the deal, TinyBuild, the game's publisher, is giving everybody who purchased the game in early access a free copy of their very first game, No Time to Explain. I already reviewed No Time to Explain. You can search for that at blackmanandrobin.com. However, I have yet to review Speedrunners. That said, I do feel comfortable recommending the game, having played plenty of it. The premise of Speedrunners is that everybody plays as a superhero of some sort, and they all zip through a city as quickly as they can. The game is a competitive platformer in which your goal is to stay ahead of the competition for as long as you can. The thing is, so long as the players keep moving forward, the screen keeps advancing. If you get caught outside the screen, you get knocked out of the game. The last player in the screen wins. To keep things interesting, partway through a game's round, the screen space begins to shrink. It's a game that manages to be frantic, but fair. It's a little goofy, and a lot of fun. It's the sort of thing that simultaneously ruins and reinforces friendships. If you're looking for a great multiplayer platformer that's playable either locally or online, get Speedrunners. It's out now for Mac, Windows, and Linux. The developers are planning on releasing finished console versions soon. Not to be outdone, Clay Entertainment's Don't Starve Together has also left early access. Don't Starve is a 2D survival game with gorgeous, trippy art that's a bit reminiscent of the works of Edward Gorey. Don't Starve Together brings co-op gameplay to the mix. It's available for $15 for Mac, Windows, and Linux. If you're looking to get into Don't Starve, you may want to consider picking up the Don't Starve Mega Pack on Steam, which contains the base game, Don't Starve Together, and all DLC for $27. It's quite a discount. If you're looking for a Tim Burton-esque survival game, look no further than Don't Starve Together. If you're looking for an adventure in virtual reality, Pollen has been released on Steam this week for Windows. Pollen is compatible with the Oculus Rift, and thus far, it's gotten good reception from the players. The game is set in an alternate timeline in which JFK was never assassinated, and the space race took humanity beyond the moon and onto Saturn's moon, Titan, for the sake of mining. In Pollen, you play as a Rama Industries employee who's tasked with finding out why a member of their research team has disappeared. The game draws inspiration from the films Moon and 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's playable either in virtual reality or with an old-fashioned monitor. Minefield Games will be bringing the game to the HTC Vive as well as the PlayStation 4. If you're at PAX East, you'll be able to check it out on the floor. Star Fox Zero was released on the Wii U this week. It's an on-rail shooter, a game in which you're zipping around in a battleship on a set course, and it's up to you to dodge incoming attacks and fire at enemies. Star Fox Zero has gotten some mixed reception from the press. Some journalists really seem to hate it. The game's relatively short campaign, its kinda awkward control scheme that badly utilizes the Wii U gamepad, and some dated elements of its design have come under fire. That said, it isn't without fresh elements such as the air-to-ground combat, and for the most part, the gameplay is that which you'd have found in Star Fox 64, which has aged pretty decently. The critics are mostly saying that if you enjoyed that game and wanted more of it, you'll have a great time with Star Fox Zero, but if you are hoping to see Star Fox progress and evolve beyond a nearly 20 years old on-rails shooter, you might want to look elsewhere. And now for a brief word from our sponsors.
Here's a dirty little secret. When you wash your face at the end of the day, you might only be cleaning the surface of your skin. To clear those congested pores, you need a deep clean. And today, you can get it with Proactive's incredible deep cleansing brush. And here's something even more incredible. You get the brush free when you order a Proactive system today.
I love the deep cleansing brush because it really gets in those pores.
I was using a brush that was over $200, and I like this so much better.
This isn't just any brush. This is the only one from the doctors at Proactive, so it's specially designed for acne-prone skin. Call the number on your screen now to get America's #1 acne brand for just $19.95. Be among the first 500 callers, and you'll also get the deep cleansing brush free, plus more secrets for flawless skin. That's a $93 value for just $19.95.
You only have 2 hands, but you have a whole lot of bristles.
This is such an incredible offer that supplies are limited. Call the number on your screen now.
We have great news for Rocket League fans. On April 26, the hotly anticipated Hoops mode is coming to the game on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. In case you've somehow not heard of Rocket League, you should know that the game involves rocket-powered cars zipping around an arena playing soccer. This Hoops mode is going to bring basketball to the game, alongside a new arena and NBA Flag Pack DLC. The update itself is free. The Flag Pack will cost you about $2, and it's purely cosmetic DLC. If you're not into sports games, you owe it to yourself to at least try out Rocket League. I still don't care about sports games. You're not going to get me excited for Madden NFL 2017, but I do care about Rocket League. It somehow combined elements of games that don't excite me into a package that I can't get enough of. If you'd like to read more about why this game is so great, check out our review at blackmanandrobin.com. In crowdfunding news this week, tactical RPG Himeko Satori caught our eye. The game draws much of its inspiration from such tactical RPGs as Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre. It's still in the alpha stage of development, and it really shows in the graphics department, but I have to say that there's a surprising amount of polish on the game itself, and based on what I've read in their Kickstarter description, there's a lot of emphasis on story, world building, and characters. There are kingdoms, literally hundreds of characters, a trio of interesting princesses who are your main characters. It's very ambitious, and I want to see it succeed. Himeko Satori is in development for Windows, OS X, and Linux. Another strategy RPG that we're featuring this week is Arcadian Atlas, which has been on Kickstarter a while longer than Himeko Satori, and looks like it has a much smaller scope, but much prettier art and a more intimate story. I love the game's aesthetic, and the story sounds pretty exciting as well. It stars Desmond and Vashti, a couple of soldiers from the Royal Guard, who've fallen in love, but alas, they're being pulled apart by the crumbling Arcadian Empire. Also, the game's music has really caught my ear. It features jazz music composed by Moritz Peachy Katz, which is a little bit unusual for this sort of RPG. That said, I can't wait to hear how it's integrated into the game. Arcadian Atlas is coming to Mac, Windows, and Linux, February of 2018. Another game on Kickstarter that captured my attention this week is a game called Quench, in which you play as a sort of shepherd able to control the weather in order to protect your creatures. It's a puzzle game that draws inspiration from Okami, Journey, and other such games. According to its creators, it's meant to be a fable about overcoming differences to restore the world through your powers being kindness, compassion, and forgiveness, in addition to, of course, your sweet weather powers. I love the premise, and I'm really hoping this one makes it on Kickstarter. Quench is in development for Windows and Mac and is set to be released autumn of 2016. Digital board/card game Mellow is going to be getting an Xbox One release this autumn. Already released on the PlayStation 4 and Steam, the game is a fast-paced fantasy adventure. There's not much to its story, but it has a lot of replayability. At the start of each game, you pick a character and get dropped onto the game board. From there, you explore, fight the other players on the board, and level up your character in order to take the crown from the Mad King in the center of the board. My review of this game is long overdue, but I feel that it must be said here and now. Mellow is brilliant. In addition to an Xbox One version, it was also announced that the game's first paid DLC will bring 4 new heroes to the game. The first is Elysia, Wardress of Warrens, a Rabbit Clan hero who can fortify settlements, making them harder for other heroes to get into. If you're at PAX East this weekend and you happen to be a fan of Mellow, do yourself a favor and drop by booth number 4218. That's where the Xbox One version of Mellow, with the upcoming Elysia DLC, will be available to play. While we're talking about card games, at long last, we have gameplay footage of The Elder Scrolls Legends, and it's not very exciting, to be honest. It looks like your bog-standard trading card game. Admittedly, its MOBA inspiration looks like it could set the game apart a little bit, which I suppose is neat. In the game, you and your opponent have avatars that can be dealt damage directly by cards. Take enough damage, and it's game over, just like in Hearthstone. What's supposed to make Legends different is its combat system for your units as well as the lanes. Your units go into different lanes on a board, kinda like minions in a MOBA, and make their way to the enemy from there. I'm going to wait for more details on this one, but it doesn't have me particularly excited. That said, it's nice to see an Elder Scrolls spin-off game. Hopefully, it utilizes the decades of lore well. This week, Supergiant Games unveiled their next game, Pyra. Supergiant is the studio behind such hits as Bastion and Transistor, and the gameplay of Pyra thus far looks to be kind of similar to the aforementioned RPGs. It's top-down and looks very story-driven, though this time around, you have a party of characters instead of focusing on just one. Thematically, it seems very interesting. The story is that your characters are trying to leave some sort of purgatory through a competition. This seems right in line with the overall set of themes that we tend to see in Supergiant's games: apocalypse, redemption, and new beginnings. It was in Bastion, it was in Transistor, and it seems we'll find it here as well. That's not all the news about this game, however. Pyra features music by Darren Korb and Ashley Barrett, and the voice talents of Logan Cunningham. You know him as the narrator from Bastion and the titular speaking sword in Transistor. He's playing a role in this game as well. Pyra is coming out in 2017 on the PlayStation 4 and Steam. If you're at PAX East, it'll be playable on the show floor. We have the full trailer as well as some screenshots on our site. Another game that got a fresh trailer just in time for PAX is Air, Above the Clouds. In development by Daedalic Entertainment and Forgotten Key, it's a gorgeous, low-poly fantasy game in which you play as a girl named Auk. You can transform into a bird to explore the ruins of an ancient civilization. It's a puzzler with a focus on exploration, and it's coming out this September for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Windows, Mac, and Linux, and yes, you will be able to check this one out at PAX East. Finally, we got a sweet trailer for a game called Valley. Set to be released this summer for Windows, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, it looks like some sort of first-person thriller in which you've been granted an exoskeleton called a leaf suit that grants you the ability to take life or give it. And it seems that using this prototype weapon has ecological consequences. The premise really has me enthralled. I mean, I love a story about the environment. I'm a huge fan of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and that film and manga really covered similar themes to this one, albeit in a rather different setting. I'm not completely sure what to expect from the gameplay of Valley, Hopefully we get more details soon.
The valley. It's suffering. Are we slowly killing this place? To think these ruins have existed here for so long.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Game News Update. You can check out our reviews of Quantum Break and Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, which both went live this week, as well as my review of Stories, The Path of Destinies on our site, blackmanandrobin.com. There you'll also find convenient links to the Kickstarter projects we spoke about this week in the post for the April 23rd, 2016 Game News Update. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at blackmanandrobin for all the greatest game news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Follow me at Jordan_Cameron for my own views.